high-rank gate was invaded, and an elite hero group was sent to hunt the intruder. A kid was found casually walking around a place full of high-rank monsters. The heroes approached the boy and asked for his gate registration ID. That Wish version of Sung Jin-woo said he doesn't need that. The guard told him to leave the gate, but the boy just turned his back and said,
"Try me, bitch."
The heroes were shocked by his nerve, grabbed the handcuffs and tried to arrest him, but the boy effortlessly squeezed the blonde guy's arm so hard it sent the hero crying on the ground in pain. The other guards had to pull out their magic batons and try to stop him, but the intruder blocked with minimal movement. One hero tried a kick to the head, but it did absolutely nothing. He hit back with a knee to the hero's ribs that will definitely leave him paralyzed. Only the leader was left, and when he looked at the boy, he saw a blur followed by a punch straight to the stomach. The stunned hero asks himself who this kid even is. The intruder grabbed the leader by the face and threw him across the forest. The boy calmly warns that next time they send someone after him, there will be a funeral. But what the heroes didn't know is that this boy is anything but normal. A few years back, a warrior took down the villain, who had destroyed his world by shattering the jewel on the monster's neck, but he was also losing consciousness. Before dying, he found a boy named Seo Dojun, a kid on the verge of death asking for one last thing, that his grandmother and his half-sister Yoon Young would be kept safe. The blonde who had been betrayed thousands of times almost said no, but felt the sincerity in his words and accepted. When the hero wakes up, he is in the body of Seo Dojun. Now he is the god of the sword, trapped in a weak body with only 10% of his original strength. In a world where gates and monsters have been appearing for 10 years, while licensed heroes control everything. Without official registration, he invaded the gates just to see what this new world was like. The monsters, way too easy. The elite agents that came to stop him, they took such a beating they'll be having nightmares about him. The boy who used to be low rank, now nobody can lay a finger on him. Back to Seo Dojun's reality, the protagonist found out the boy had left a mess behind. He was trying to sell the magic stones he got from killing monsters, but they were charging an insane fee when two giants showed up at the back door, trying to take the stones from the protagonist. With zero fear, he put all three babies to sleep. With just him and the seller in the room, the fee dropped from 40 to 15%. Arriving home with a fat stack of cash, he made up a story for his grandma and sister, and started thinking about the plan to keep the promise he made to Seo Dojun. Leaving the house, he runs into two loan sharks, collecting 48 million won in debts the original Seo had left behind. The protagonist took a deep breath and threw a lightning-fast punch that left the other thug with no idea what just happened. Seo let the other one walk away unharmed, and sent a message to the boss that he was coming for him. Later, Seo used the money, and took his sister out for lunch. A woman arrived at the place and was completely shocked because she never expected to see him alive. But after they talked and she walked away, she couldn't understand how he got out of the rift zone where she had thrown him to die. The next day, the protagonist took a cab and headed to the loan shark's base to settle the debt. The boss was furious seeing him after he beat up the henchmen. The protagonist says all the henchmen are weak. The boss got even more irritated by his nerve, and all the henchmen stood up surrounding him. One of them couldn't hold back and rushed the boy, but took a punch right in the middle of his face that left everyone in shock. Then the protagonist stopped holding back and started beating each one of them without any mercy. Now that everyone is on the floor, Seo said he wants a registered ID ready by tomorrow. The boss is terrified by what he just saw, but Seo found something strange about the whole situation, and asked if a red-haired woman had ordered the hit on him. At first the guy stayed quiet, but after Seo squeezed his shoulder he cracked and told the whole truth. They were supposed to kill him and make it look like a suicide. Seo turned his back and walked away. The next day, with his registration card in hand, he passed through the Bamseo gate. Inside that gate, he had to fight giant venomous snakes using his claw gauntlets. The gate boss was tougher than it looked. He tried everything but nothing could pierce those scales, until an old sword appeared that he found on the ground, and with that sword he ended the fight, slicing the monster to pieces and taking down the boss with ease. He didn't expect a B-rank gate to take this long. Getting his strength back is the priority. Good thing his old buddies didn't see him like this. In the city, a man is selling his stones and hears the fee is 40%. He complains that's way too much, and that he always sells there. Couldn't he get a discount? The buyer explains they're the cheapest, since the gate crew already takes 5%. This way the person doesn't have to pay anything extra. Then, the man agrees and asks what happened to his face. The kid says some psycho beat everyone up. The bandana guy says real skill matters more than ranks. Someone guarding a shop doesn't have the power of a hunter hero. He also offers to help the kid if he needs it. Then Selly walks into the store. The clerk yells that Selly's the one who hit him, but the bandana guy can barely believe it. He says a hero doesn't hit innocent civilians. The employee knows the guy is a 7-year veteran and knows a lot of people. Like always, Selly tells him to get lost, and asks if he's trying to get revenge for the kid. The veteran knows one of the biggest causes of hero deaths is fights with other heroes, so he says he's busy, and they'll meet up later. Selly says the employee's been complaining about him, then throws a bag of stones at him and tells him to do the math. They're high-level stones worth 150 million won total, which the protagonist thinks is nothing. The smartass says they need to add the fee, and Selly gives him a terrifying look. Then he smiles and says the amount after minus 15% is 148.5 million. The employee imagines himself screaming that the fee is 40% and punching the hero, but he just says big transactions need a supervisor's approval. Selly tells him to get approval right now, so he does, calling his boss. The protagonist pulls the phone away from his ear and says to tell him to release the money. The boss asks to speak to the employee again. The phone gets thrown at the wall so hard it sticks there. The kid wants his money. He gets it and says he hopes next time it'll be just as good. 10 minutes later, the boss shows up asking why the kid isn't answering the phone. The employee says he's quitting because he can't take it anymore. The man calls someone named Hyun Joyeon and tells her to come immediately. When she arrives, we find out she's the 4th strongest S-rank heroine in Korea. The shop owner is her uncle, and now this whole situation with the hero forcing a stone sale is about to get handled. Back at home, Seo realizes that even hunting all day he only makes 100 million. At this rate it'll be too late. He needs to clear S-rank gates. The important thing is getting his old strength back. But it's not like his old world. The mana in the air is scarce, and it could take more than 3 years. Good gear would help, but there isn't much of that around here. The ground starts shaking, and Seo carries Yoon-young inside. His grandma asks if it's an earthquake, but it's actually way worse. A rift is opening. He tells them to stay safe and goes into the anomaly. At the Heroes Association, someone tells the leader a new rift was detected in Mappo after 63 days. The White Lion Guild is closest, so they decide to contact them. They also realize it's in a house's backyard, which is a problem, because if a civilian goes in, they have to wait for them to come out. And if the person dies, it's even worse, because a monster wave happens every 10 days, which would wreck Seoul. They know Seo went in trying to save his little sister, and since he's not a hero, there's a huge chance a wave will happen. Meanwhile, Hong Hee-ju is confused about this whole awakening thing, the bald guy explained. She gets furious, and asks what Kang Chol-woo did. She wants to make it clear to Kang that if he fails to kill Seo, he'll have to pay back 10 times what he got. But the bald guy explains a rift opened at the kid's house and he went inside. Hong seems calmer now that she knows she won't have to see the brat ever again. Inside the rift, the protagonist realizes it's the Patiswa forest, where he used to come all the time as a kid. Since he knows the way, he heads to the world tree, which holds flowing pure mana. His old world was destroyed because that tree was burned, and the mana got ruined, so now our hero will be able to get his mana back. He stayed there for 3 days without eating or drinking, just breathing. But then horrible monsters showed up, the Volcana. The ones who burned the tree in the past. It'd be really helpful if our kid had a water element sword right now. Still, it doesn't matter, because he's about to chop every last one of those ugly freaks into pieces. Xiaobei holds out his hand and gets ready to unleash his mana. Condensed mana shoots out as chi and detonates. It's been a long time since he's done it this hard all at once. The monsters aren't idiots, so they go after the kid too. But the protagonist isn't messing around anymore with all that power. The beasts get shredded by condensed mana, turn into dust, and only the magic stones are left behind. Once he finishes them all off, he should get the Eternal Ember. It's pretty common in them. Let's see how many drop. And Seo keeps fighting non-stop to protect the world tree. In the end, he gets the ember and crushes it in his hand. It'd be nice to draw more mana from the tree, but with this body, it's impossible. Still, he can absorb the ember and convert that mana into a fire stat. Back in the day, he didn't even have to do that. Now it takes 10 minutes just to absorb one. Seo's going to do it with as many as he can. Outside the rift, the hero Bang Song-woo is pissed about the situation. Kim Hyun-woo explains the kid just wanted to save his sister. But the other guy thinks he heard a rumor. It's easy to awaken inside rifts and didn't think about anyone else. If he wanted to die, he should have gone alone. The guild master told them both to wait for the wave. Looks like rifts also popped up in the US, China, the UK, Turkey, and Switzerland. It's the first time something like this has happened, but the early stages are under control over there. Only Korea's screwed thanks to Seo. When he comes out, Bang's going to deal with him. It's been 28 days, and the Hero Association announced a level 1 wave is coming. If Seo doesn't come out in 2 days, he's in trouble. Meanwhile, the loan shark boss, Hwang Chang Seo, realizes it's the idiot who beat everyone up back then. He asks his assistant what the chances are the kid makes it out alive, and the answer is less than 1%. But the truth is, the association idiots don't have the info Hwang has. Seo's probably awakened, but even so, it's hard to say if he'll survive. The boss knows being good in a fight and surviving in a rift are two different things. He also knows the kid has a family that needs handling. If the hero dies, they'll sell her organs. If he lives, they'll say they'll protect both of them and saddle them with a debt. Meanwhile, at the World Tree, Seo doesn't even know how much time has passed. He's already absorbed hundreds of embers. Now he can use fire mana whenever he wants, and his fire resistance has shot way up too. In fire attribute, he's stronger than when he was the sword god, so he thanks the tree. He grabs his stones and tells it he'll protect it. Finally, he leaves the rift, but there's no one within a 1-kilometer radius. Everyone evacuated because of the wave. Seo senses a stronger aura in that direction. He takes off running and sees Bang and Kim from behind. He judges them by their clothes and knows they're the same guys from the last gate. If he gets caught, it'll be a huge problem. So he doesn't waste time and fires off a blast of flame way off in the distance. It explodes and gets their attention. A house starts burning and everyone panics. Seo likes how clean and precise fire is. His friend Kusak would have admired it. He was the strongest fire mage on the continent. Then Kim notices the rift is acting weird. They run over to check, and it's literally just disappearing, and Seo gets away with his magic stones. On the news the next day, everyone's shocked the rift vanished. People guess Seo died, but he's worried he might not be able to see the world tree again. Our hero makes it to Yeongdongpo. Two scumbags are talking like, since the brat died, the old lady and the kid are next, which is a shame, because the kid's gonna be pretty when she grows up. That's when the protagonist shows up asking about the boss and scares the hell out of them. The idiot gets to the building, chatting with his assistant about his daily routine. But the moment he opens the door, he sees his goons getting absolutely wrecked. Seo tells him to crawl over like a dog, sweating. The guy drops down and starts crawling. The young man tells him to bark, because a bastard like that doesn't deserve to be treated like a human. Hwang starts barking, and Seo says that in front of him they act all submissive like they'd hand over their liver, but the second they get an opening, they'll stab him in the back. And he asks the boss if he really thinks this is the first time he's dealt with trash like that. Hwang begs for mercy, and says he'll serve him loyally, but he just gets a kick to the chin. Seo tells the guy with glasses that he's the leader now, and he shouldn't serve inhuman pieces of shit like them. The assistant says his boss has connections. If he becomes the leader, people are gonna think it's weird. So the kid says they specialize in tossing people into the sea and crushing them at the scrapyard. If they don't do what they're told, Seo will throw them into a gate as monster food. They beg for mercy again. Meanwhile, Seo thinks it'd be easier to just finish Hwang off and avoid trouble later. He reaches out his hand. Then the boss apologizes, but when he looks down, everything's on fire. Seo says that if even a single scratch shows up on anyone in his family, everyone will be slaughtered. They have to protect them 24/7. The next day, everyone's treating the kid like he's basically dead. He knows showing up will just cause problems. Hwang is going to find them a new place to live, and Yoon is happy about it. She goes to kindergarten, but she doesn't want to because the other kids tease her for not having parents. So Seo decides the little girl doesn't have to go, she can just start school next year. He thinks it's better to send her to some elite private school where nobody can talk trash about her. And the crazy assistant takes the grandma and the little girl to spend the night at a motel. The guy with glasses says the company runs that motel, so it's safe. He remembers the little girl being super happy to see him again, and her grandma looking relieved. At the restaurant, Yoon asks if her brother is a hero, but she hopes he isn't, because heroes fight monsters and sometimes die, and she and grandma want him with them for a long time. Even in the brutal world back then, there were humans who survived to the very end. During the battles, a lot got lost, but now something precious he'd forgotten about has come back. In this place you can live while protecting simple happiness. At the Heroes Association, Na Tae-wang, the founder, asks if there's really nothing to find out. His assistant says no, and he gets frustrated, because if the rift disappeared on its own, it could show up on its own too. The woman says having a variable like that is dangerous. Maybe it'd be better if it were a wave. Tae-wang gets pissed and says that for people's safety it's a relief it didn't come to that. He's one of the 100 most respected heroes in the world. If he ran for president, he'd win by a landslide. But he's not interested in being president. He cares about people's safety and preparing for rifts. Tae-wang tells her to investigate more, and she mentions that the people who lived in the rift house agreed to sell it. They'll offer a high price to at least give some comfort to someone who lost their family. That rift showing up in other countries isn't normal. At least China and the US kept things under control. But the UK is having problems, because the good heroes went to other rifts. Right as he finishes saying that, he gets a notification that the UK wave has started. Later on, Xiaobei walks into the shop to sell stones, and the employee freaks out. He yells to the manager asking who this guy is, and the manager stands up. The kid says he came at the perfect time, because he's got a lot of stones to sell, and wants someone more experienced. But the manager says he doesn't do business with him, thinking they're low-quality stones. He explains that such a low fee is a huge loss for them, and says there's a reason the gate center charges a 5% commission, and the manager tells the kid to get out. But Xiaobei opens his backpack and shows the stones. They're shocked by a hero stone worth basically whatever price he names. In Mexico, the drug lord Kurzaman was crushing magic stones to make drugs, and when the power activated, he awakened as a hero, so that stone is famous for being essential. It's a rare ultra-luxury energy item. Xiaobei says he'll leave since they don't want them, but now the manager's interested. The manager says a 0.5% fee is too much, but the kid just says if they don't want it, forget it. The hero says he's annoyed, and the manager apologizes, but he's sick of it and just wants to know if they'll take it. Then the guy with glasses starts talking way too much, so Xiaobei turns around and starts walking out, but the manager begs for a 9% fee, then 8%, because his boss will kill him if he finds out about this. Then he asks for 7% and 6%, so Seo says he'll keep it at 1%, and he says he's got 7 more backpacks just like that. So the young guy makes 67 billion won, realizing the house he wants is actually doable soon. But the problem is, gates aren't enough to get high-quality stones, and he can't go into rifts. Then, his phone buzzes and there's a notification about a wave in the UK. Back then, no matter what country it was, he would have gone and sealed the rifts. But the kid doesn't live like that anymore. Now he's out with his family at a restaurant. His grandma thinks it's way too expensive, but Seo says he's made plenty of money. Yoonj is loving the food, so the boy orders even more, which kind of annoys the older lady. Everything tastes amazing, and everyone's happy. But it doesn't last long, because Hyun Jae-yeon shows up. She walks in asking if she can have a quick word with the hero. He says they can talk after dinner. Yoonj introduces herself, and the kid completely ignores her. That leaves her standing outside, frustrated, and everyone's whispering about her, one of the 10 most beautiful heroines in the world. It's been 2 months since he went into that rift, and came out alive, after being reported dead. An awakened becoming S-rank in under 2 months is weird. Normally that takes years. There's no way it's real. The guy must have some other unique ability. Dinner's over, and Hyun is still there, but someone else is waiting too. Kang Cholwoo, pissed that the kid is still alive. Seo ignores the guy and goes over to the purple-haired girl. He says he'll hear what she has to say, but first he needs Hyun to call a taxi and take his family home, because he's got something to deal with now. The heroine puts his family in a taxi and tells them not to worry. Meanwhile, inside, Kang's already gotten punched in the face, and an employee tells him he can't do that in there, and the poor girl gets slapped too. The guy is completely unhinged, out for blood, but before he can do anything, Seo punches the blonde guy right in the face. Dead serious, the hero asks if Kang was the one who locked him at the gate and left him to die. The villain says he's got nothing to say to some guy abandoned by his dad, and with a stepmom who wants him dead. Seo starts recording Kang and tells him to say it again. The man's fist, barely even human looking, bursts into flames as he winds up for a punch. He even calls Seo's mom a slut, but then embarrasses himself because Seo just blocks the attack, and Kang goes flying backward, shocked at what just happened. Seo immediately lines up a counterattack. No hesitation. The employee tries to call the police, but Hyun shows up and says she'll handle it. Meanwhile, the hero is basically beating Kang down with his fists. Hyun's shocked because the guy is B rank and he's getting absolutely wrecked. Even if Seo were A rank, there's no way it should be this easy. Hyun says if this keeps going, the kid's going to kill Kang, so he stops punching. She asks what the younger one knows about Chelwoo, and Seo says enough. The girl explains that his cousin is Kang Yongpyo, an S rank. The young guy says he knows and asks what the big deal is. Hyun's stunned by how little he seems to care about the consequences. She explains Chelwoo does whatever he wants because Yongpyo protects him. What Seo's doing is dangerous. The protagonist just smiles, and the heroine asks if he isn't scared. But Seo's bothered by how much she knows about his life. So Hyun explains her uncle sent her, the guy who buys magic stones, and she wants to buy them too. She adds that she'll buy all he has, but Seo says it's a lot, but the kid doesn't realize an S-rank hero's money is basically beyond imagination. So he suggests she just give him a ride, something that should be nothing for Hyun Juyen. Then we see Hong Hee-ju losing it after finding out her stepson is alive. Her pet bald guy says even the Hero Association thought he was dead, and he adds that Kang got beaten by Seo Dojin. That makes Hong realize the brat must know something. If her father or husband finds out, it'll be a huge problem, and if the media finds out, the group's stock price will tank. She tells the bald guy to intercept the media and shut the police up immediately, but he already did. Still, that's not a real fix, because Kang's cousin is Yongpyo. Chelwoo is seen as trash, even in the hero world. He's just a pawn, doing the dirty work. Yongpyo orders. If the police and the media start messing with Kang, it looks bad for his cousin too, so the older one did something. Hong wants to find the guy, and she asked for a meeting as soon as possible. She also talks about President Hwang Chang-seop's betrayal when he took care of Seo's family. The woman has Prosecutor Park summoned, and wants to make the guy pay for abandoning her. All in all, there are 37 rifts in Korea, and 5 of them have turned into gates. For the rest, only linked assigned heroes can go in. Yoon Chae and a group are heading into one of them. The kid notices there's only one entrance, and even though he knows it's the purple-haired girl, they still checked and double-checked everything. The A-rank heroine, Jung In-ju, thought it was weird that she'd suggested going into a rift earlier, and Hyun says it's just more fun. Sho's condition was that she let him enter a rift. In return, he'll sell all the stones at market price. That way he'll make even more money. The girl thinks it's crazy to go in there just for that, but she lets it slide because she needs the hero's stone. Jung asks if that guy is her boyfriend, and annoyed, Hyun says she just owes him something, and she's going to pay him back. But the conversation gets cut off when something attacks them from above. It's a huge cockatrice, and Hyun tells Jinju and Doyeon to hold the defense, and Seunggo to focus on the creature's leg. Sho decides to attack alone and takes off running in one burst. His fist is on fire, ready to punch, and to everyone's surprise, the hit lands right in the beast's face, and it dies instantly. But Sho isn't satisfied and stomps the monster hard. Jung asks who this guy even is, and Hyun says he's just a strong human. But the girl asks how many heroes can kill a cockatrice in one hit. The heroine says even her sister can only knock it down, but the brat doesn't buy it. So Hyun decides to change the plan. She'll dash to the center real quick, but first, she goes up to Sho. He immediately says he's not splitting anything with people who didn't help, but she tells him his abilities won't be useful there. He needs to go deeper, and he smiles, saying that sounds fun. Hyun says she knows the place well, so she'll lead, and he should follow her. Then she takes off at an insane speed. So goes right after her. They joke that if she's a bullet, he's light. The team gets left behind, and Jung realizes A ranks next to Su ranks are basically just small fry. Meanwhile, Hyun turns around and doesn't see So she wonders if she should slow down. But actually, he's right beside her and tells her to go faster. She's shocked because she's the second fastest in Korea. So admits she's slower than he expected, and that she ran like she was trying to ditch him. Then they spot the rift boss on that mountain. Hyun explains its name is Kassarian, a massive 20-meter monster, kind of like a wyvern. It takes at least 3 S-rank heroes to take it down. Then So asks if the monster has the Song magic stone, the highest level one, and she says yes. Freaked out, Hyun asks if he's seriously thinking about going up there, because she didn't bring him here to do something stupid, and to her surprise, the kid takes off running. She chases after him, and they head for Kassarian's mountain. Right after that, we only see the monster defeated on the ground, and Hyun is speechless. The beast is insanely powerful. Even Park Hae-yeol, an S-rank hero, went in with 30 A ranks, and everyone died except him. Later, for revenge, he brought another S-rank hero and 200 A ranks. In the end, he managed to hunt Kassarian, but most of the heroes died, and Park Hae-yeol's super guild took more than 3 years to recover. Seo says Hyun didn't contribute anything, which frustrates her. Even so, she can't believe she just watched the great Kassarian get taken down with a single blow, and the kid got a huge magic stone from the monster. Then he tells Hyun he doesn't need help anymore. From now on he'll go alone. But Hyun says there's more useful stuff on the corpse, like feathers and claws. The protagonist says that's not worth money, it's more efficient to get more stones from other monsters, and she can have that stuff. At the end of the day, the team says Seo came back with a giant backpack full of magic stones. It would have taken them 3 straight days of non-stop hunting to get that much. Shaken, Jong remembers her friend telling her he beat Kassarian solo. That makes him the strongest hero in Korea, and maybe in the whole world. In the meantime, the kid brings even more magic stones. No one would believe it if they told the story, and the team starts guessing the 2 lovebirds are flirting. They'd make a cute couple, but Seo is treating her badly, something Jong never thought would be possible. Out of nowhere, the kid just leaves, doesn't even say goodbye, dumping the backpacks behind. Jong told him that once people find out about Kassarian, the hero's gonna get super famous, and Seo doesn't want to deal with that, so he left it for the purple-haired girl to handle. Everyone's shocked, especially Sean. In the city, Park Hae-yeol is training like a maniac. His assistant tells him to take it easy, and Park says he'll shut up everyone who ever looked down on him. The assistant keeps stroking his ego, saying nobody understands the strategy to take down Kassarian better than he does, and one day he'll be known as the hero who killed the beast with the smallest team. But compared to 3 years ago, his guild's influence has dropped a lot. Still, he stays confident. Somewhere else, Kang Young-pyo is talking about how his cousin tried to kill Seo at the gate, but instead, the kid awakened there, and all of it was at the request of Madam Hong Hee-ju, who's insanely rich. The assistant tells him the boy is her illegitimate son, and that when she gave birth, she kicked the brat out. Apparently blood doesn't matter that much in rich people's world. Kang also finds out his cousin got 3 billion won for the job, then got beaten up and ended up paralyzed. The assistant adds that his whole body is covered in scars, and he's blind. He barely survived. Kang says if it were him, he'd chop the kid into pieces. His guy keeps feeding him info. Hyun was helping Seo, which makes Kang furious. Nervous, the assistant says that thanks to her statement to the police, everything got wrapped up. Kang snaps that he wants to know immediately what the relationship is between those two, what deal they've got. The hero knows Hong is going to come to him to do what Chulwoo couldn't. With a weird look, he says the madam's got plenty of money. Elsewhere, Seo is walking and thinking, like he expected, a rift is more efficient than a gate. The annoying part is he'll have to rely on Hyun's help. She said that if she sells Kassarian stones, people will figure out who killed it and start questioning her ability. The media will go nuts, so it's better to keep them hidden for now. Seo knows he'll have to find another way to get to rifts, but for now he's going to rest at the place Hwang set up for him. Bad news, there are a bunch of shoes at the door. That's not a good sign. Inside, several men are waiting for him. One of them says he's Prosecutor Park Chae-leung from Seoul, and asks if the kid knows Hwang Chang-seo. Seo is being detained for taking part in an illegal loan sharking scheme. Our protagonist is handcuffed to a chair while Park talks on the phone, saying Hwang and Seo have been cooperative. He thanks them for taking care of his daughter's studies, showing his connection to Hong. Then the blonde guy says he became a prosecutor to separate society's trash from everyone else. Sitting there, Park says that based on the charges, the kid's gonna rot in prison for 10 years. And he's already gathered enough evidence to prove it all, but Seo keeps the same expression. That really pisses Park off. He insults Seo and asks if it looks like he's lying. The younger one asks if it's that bitch Hong Hee-ju behind this. Park plays dumb and asks who that is. Seo realizes that on Hwang's side it's already over. He just accepted it quietly because he was scared to make a scene. In a threatening tone, Park asks if he thinks Korean prosecutors are a joke. Seo stares back at him with an even more threatening look. Park gets startled, but even more annoyed, and threatens to slap the kid. But then the door opens and someone says they need the prosecutor. Luckily for Seo, the hero meter listed him as a civilian. Maybe the info about his awakening is wrong. Park knows there's no way something the Tin Group investigated could be wrong, and the fact that Seo knows about Hong Heju is weird. Now the kid gets why South Korean prosecutors are called mad dogs. Maybe it'd be better to burn everything down and run off somewhere with just his grandma and Yoon Young. But then Hyun suddenly walks into the room. She asks why he's there, but he doesn't know either. She explains that if the hero uses force now, it'll be hard to deal with the fallout later. Then Xiao asks if she wants to help him, but Hyun knows the hero didn't do anything wrong. Making false accusations is wrong, and she knows he was framed, so it's better to sort this out ASAP. The purple-haired girl says the Hero Association is going to run an investigation, and that she'll be checking out unlicensed heroes. But Seo's worried about his family, which annoys Hyun since she's not his secretary. Still, she ends up going along with it, and says the two of them are fine and there's no reason to worry. He thanks her and says he'll pay her back, and Hyun says it'll be taken care of as quickly as possible. That said, the method she chose isn't about proving Seo's innocence, since Park got fired after being found guilty of taking bribes. The kid should have been punished for operating without a license, but thanks to Hyun, it all ended with probation. Meanwhile, in the UK, a four-eyed monster with super strong venom is attacking civilians. Seo says it's a Macassian, which shocks Hyun, because it's a new monster, and only the association should know its name. Beast stones contain condensed energy, along with the monster's unique info like its name. On Earth, it's all powered by science, but in his ruined world, it was powered by magic. Since monsters show up in both worlds, Seo knows the names of most of them. He explains you can take down the Macassian fast, using red flower ant extract, and he adds that it's harmless to humans, but not to the beast. If you spray it on them, they won't be able to jump anymore. Karyan just asks what the hell Seo Dujin even is, and the kid ignores her, and he simply asks what would happen if he killed Hong Hee-ju. At home, the woman is biting her nails when she realizes things have gotten out of control. The bald guy doesn't know what kind of relationship Seo and Hyun have, or how they even met, and the woman also wants to know why it came out that the brat isn't a hero, since she heard he awakened. The guy in the suit says it could be some ability that messes with the detector. Yelling, Hong says to hire Kang Young-pyo and pay him 30 billion. At his place, the guy says for double that, he'll do it, because he knows she doesn't have any other choice. And honestly, that amount isn't even that much for her. After all, he'd have to fight Hyun, who's S rank. His assistant says she's strong, and Kang says he can take the girl out in 20 minutes. The man asks about the association, and the other guy says the UK said they can't raise the amount, because they already announced to the public that they're recruiting heroes, which puts Kang in a bad spot, since he can't really refuse over low pay. The assistant says the guy has to go in 3 days with Japanese heroes. Thinking it over, Kang brings up the Macassian. If he figures out its weakness, his price is going to shoot up. In England, the heroes are doing everything they can to hold the monsters back. Unfortunately, the creatures are way too strong and they're struggling. But without clear info, they're basically helpless against an unknown enemy. And now that Cambridge's defensive line has collapsed, there are only 60 kilometers left before the capital, London. Suddenly the monster's eyes go dark, and everyone shouts that Hyun was right. The red flower ant extract is working, and the Macassians are weakened. Kang is suspicious, because he doesn't think the girl is that skilled. Now it's time for the heroes to finish the beasts off. The next day, the press is shocked, but they agree she performed the best at the UK headquarters. Hyun found the Macassian's weakness, saved the country, and literally became a hero. The British royal family is going to knight the girl. When the purple-haired girl shows up, everyone goes crazy taking pictures, wanting to know how she figured it all out. They want Kang Young-pyo's opinion too, since he hunted the most monsters there. Seo is watching the report, but when he sees Kang, he looks ready to kill. Later on, at a restaurant, Hyun gives a gift to the protagonist and his family. It's expensive clothes, but she says it's a reward for the help. Thanks to him, she became a hero. She offers to buy the kid a car, but Seo says he'll tell her when he needs one. Then Hyun says she wants to know how he knew the Macassian's weakness, but he doesn't answer. So she asks what his plans are now, because if he goes after Hong or Kang, things are going to get ugly and she'll have to stop him. To her surprise, he says he wants to buy a house. Meanwhile, Kang is partying with women, but he can't stop thinking about how different Hyun is. She knows the Macassian's weakness, but she's still hiding how she found out. And the worst part is what happened with Seo Dojun on the plane. Kang asked her about the kid smashing the prosecutor's head, but Hyun explains that the one who started all of this was Chelwoo, when he grabbed the kid at the gate. On the day of the fight, Seo wasn't the one who started it, and Kang says that even if his cousin did something stupid, he's still his cousin, and he's got a reason to want revenge on that brat. Hyun just shrugs and says the guy can do whatever he wants. She's not getting involved. Shocked, Kang realizes their relationship isn't as good as he thought. The girl ignores him and says there's no reason for her to step into this. The guy can't stop thinking about it, because he feels like Seo is hiding something. The city of Shrewsbury in England got wrecked by the wave, and the British Hero Association wants to secure as many magic stones as possible before the next one. A bunch of heroes were sent to the rift, which is being guarded. One of them says that if they had red flower ant extract, even D ranks could take down a Macassian. The other says that if the wave had been blocked earlier, the place would be perfect for finding magic stones. A region where a wave already happened can't be blocked anymore, and in the second one, different monsters show up. The guard says nobody knows what might appear, but the other one sees something behind him. It looked like someone was coming out, even though the team only went in 5 hours ago. They need to stay alert, because regular people looking for magic stones will definitely show up. Suddenly, there's an explosion, and the guards turn around, freaked out. It's a man, or rather a being, and the guard blurts out that it's not a hero or a hunter. They need to call HQ right now. The entity gives off green power and makes both of them float. One of them tries to throw daggers at the monster, but it bounces them back like it's nothing, saying it was way too weak. The being clenches its fist, and the two guards are basically done for. It says 10 years have passed, and they haven't even reached 20%. Maybe it failed. Even after activating the dimensional rift, now it'll have to build up its mana first. One of the guards asks who it is, but then he's actually done for real. The being says it'll start by wiping the weak off the world. Meanwhile, in South Korea, Seo is walking when the ground starts shaking. They're huge worms with sharp teeth, digging through the ground. The hero notices there are 26 of them within a 100-meter radius. He wonders how many of them will survive his attack. Then he throws a massive fireball that blows everything up. Monster chunks go flying everywhere. In a fancy building, T. Weng's talking about a young guy who's hard to deal with. Min Honggi, in a suit, says he got confirmation that the kid is a hero. The old man says he thought the hero meter showed there was no way to measure the kid. Park Sung-chul, the association's vice president, calls him an insolent brat, because anything they ask should be answered. Then Min says this whole thing started because of a nasty plan by the hero Kong Cholwoo. Seo awakened when he was near death during the gate incident, then got revenge on the guy, and handled the Mappo monsters all by himself. Even if some of what he did was a bit over the top, it's clear the kid's strength is insane. Thinking it over, Tu Weng says he's hard to handle, but his loyalty isn't in doubt, and he requested an official hero license, and since Hyun is backing him, he can skip the usual procedures. As soon as that name comes up, everyone's shocked. Seo is now officially Korea's 8th best S rank, and can hunt in rifts. Tu Weng laughs at how the second the kid got his license, he immediately went to explore a rift at crazy speed. The most shocking part is that he went into a level 2 one without a guild. Park Sung-chul thinks he's out of his mind, and he suggests to the president that if the kid comes back alive, it'd be good to promote him and reveal his identity. After all, he's the 8th S rank. Min says the young guy might not want that. The right thing is to ask him first. The old man tells the director that if another hero at his level showed up in times like these, people would feel relieved. Tian says he gets both sides, but he'll go talk to Seo Dojin directly. And meanwhile, Seo is out there wiping out more killer worms. He uses his firepower, gained from the embers, and slices the monsters in half. Then he realizes his mana drain is no joke. The kid seriously needs a weapon. The young guy gets to the Gasan complex and tells the receptionist he wants to make a weapon out of this. But the guy says only people with reservations can go in. Seo tries to talk to him, but the guy says they're full and don't have time. The hero grabs him by the collar and asks if he's the boss, but the guy's just the owner's son. So the main guy tells him to call his dad, because he came here after hearing this place is good. The owner shows up, Choi Chelkwan, and asks who told him about the place. Seo says it was Hyun Juyeon, which shocks both of them. Then the kid hands over the fang from the giant black assassin, leaving the man speechless. After that, the hero asks him to make a sleek sword as long as possible. The craftsman says that with non-metal materials, if you stretch it too much, it won't be durable, so he'll make 2 medium blades instead. Annoyed, Seo asks if the old man just isn't skilled enough. Just connect the two. He needs a long sword, and he needs really high mana absorption too. That makes the owner's son nervous because he's heard people say they're not that skilled, since his dad's weapons have mana absorption level 3. He grabs a sword and says it should be level 5. Then he squeezes the blade, making it shine way too much, and it snaps in half like it's styrofoam. Seo says if they're gonna make trash like this, they might as well quit. Sometime later, Seo's walking through a green area and complains about a noisy cyclops. Like you'd expect, the thing gets split in two with zero effort. The big green guy even tries to grab a tree to shield itself, but that gets cut in half too. But the monster regenerates fast and gets ready to keep fighting. What it didn't expect was that Seo already had a fire attack ready, wiping it out for good. He already knew it'd be hard to keep a mana sword going for long. Even so, he took down a cyclops and collected its blood. Seo gives it to the old man and says this will make it easy to fuse both fangs together. The man yells that he could at least say what that is, but the hero ignores him. Now the kid has all the basic materials ready, but to boost mana absorption, he needs that. And you can only find that in one specific place on Earth. Seo calls Hein, who's at the pool, and brings up Brazil. She's confused about the association sending a hero to Brazil, but apparently the government teamed up with Korea and they're sealing the rift. Brazilian monsters are super violent, but they drop a lot of magic stones and the pay is good, so their guild is going. Jang tells Hein to go and take that guy with her, because there are rumors he's the 8th S-class hero. There's also a rumor the two of them are together. That makes Hein uncomfortable, but she agrees to go. Meanwhile, the old man wonders how the brat knew Cyclops' blood could be used to glue that stuff. He can make a sword that's 1.8 meters long, and Seo wants to wield it one-handed, at 5 kilos. The craftsman thinks it's weird the kid suddenly got polite, and asks if that weight isn't too much for one hand. In the end, the old man says it'll be ready in a month. Seo wonders if a level 7 sword could handle all his power. Looks like he'll need that. He tells the man to just make the shape for now, because he's going to get it. And the old man doesn't believe the brat can actually get it. We just don't know what that is yet. A few days later, the MC gets a car from the purple-haired girl, but she says it's only worth 100 million won. He says that's fair, and for some reason she gets embarrassed. Then she asks if something's going on at the Hero Association. Xiaobei says they're trying to expose his identity, so he paid the proper price. Hyson says Tai Huang usually likes fair deals, but the main guy says the dude got the message. She says she'd appreciate it if he'd consider her position as his guarantor, but he just shuts the door in her face. When she comes in, she says the association is a mess because of the fortress collapse in Brazil, so they'll have to deal with the rest later. Hythan adds they'll have to completely seal off part of the fortress, and the boy asks if she's going. Purple Hair says yes, and he tells her to go with him, which makes her nervous. Meanwhile, Kong is asking the woman for more money, saying now's not the time to be cheap. Hung complains that the greedy guy already got 30 billion up front, and is still asking for more. She never should have trusted someone like that. The hero says nobody else would take the job. But the stepmother insists there are guys out there who'd kill without hesitating. Confident, Kong says her info is seriously outdated because Seo Dojin is South Korea's 8th S rank. The woman yells that this has to be a joke. The other guy shoots back that if she doesn't believe it, she can just wait until he messes everything up. That new info makes Hong really nervous, because if it's true she can't control him, so she'll end up paying extra. Kong says it'd be even better if they became regular business partners. Hong says she'll agree to anything, as long as that brat gets destroyed. The mercenary checks his phone and says the woman's lucky, because the perfect opportunity for the mission just showed up. On the plane to Brazil there are 5 S ranks: Yoon, Jong Song-ho, Park Hye-yeol, Jong Yeon-pyo, and Seo Dojin. In São Paulo, at the Brazilian Heroes Association, some guys say they've arrived, and a few of them already went straight into action without even stopping at the hotel to rest. But one of them is scared. The Koreans might find out a certain piece of information. The bearded guy says they just need to make sure everything stays under control until the operation is over. Marius is Brazil's treasure hero, and he was defeated by an unknown entity, and it wasn't a monster. The black box clearly picked up the shape of a human, and it happened near the Santarén rift. Mo Xiao texts Sedjo, and that lunatic is already at the most problematic rift, all by himself. Meanwhile, they're in a meeting about the adjustment period, which is 2 days before they're allowed to enter the rifts. When the girl gets into the car to go after the protagonist, Kong stops her and says the schedule hasn't started yet. Then Hoon replies that she needs to check a location, and the man asks where. She says Santarém. The hero looks thoughtful, because the Brazilian Association told them to avoid that place. In the area around there, the guild is on edge, except for Sedjo. Hoon says that since they're already there, the kid could explain why he's in such a rush, and he answers that she's the one who's late. The girl explains that if Sedjo had said he was going there, she would have known and gotten there in time. And she demands an explanation for why he wanted to go there. The kid says it's because of the blue croco. Hoon asks what that is, but the young guy doesn't want to answer. So she says she's 3 years older than the brat, so he should respect her the way she respects him. Sedjo replies that she just needs to talk normally. They keep up this dumb little argument, while the 2 guild members wonder if they can really just jump into the rift like that. They might be with Hyun, but it looks like the newbie is the one leading. But not all newbies are the same. Sedjo Dungeon is a record-breaking newbie. The purple-haired girl asks if the hero is planning to close the rift. He says he came there for the materials, so he's not closing it. He's grabbing everything he can. But a huge razor-sharp claw cuts the conversation short, attacking a boy with everything it's got. Everyone gets into position and realizes those monsters are no joke. Sedjo tells everyone to get out of the way and pulls out a sword. The old man said that if he wants to get the blue croco's heart, he'll need to borrow his sword. The protagonist doesn't get scared in front of the monsters, and wastes no time attacking them. They get taken out in just a few hits, and the guild people comment on how strong the kid is. At night, at the camp, they talk about how insane Seo was against the blue crocos. You can barely even count how many he destroyed by himself, and one of them says that's how the kid fought the cockatrice. The guy is definitely not a normal hero. Then Hyun goes up to him and asks if he's done collecting the hearts, and he says she can just look. She tries to figure out what he's going to do with all that, but changes the subject and asks what kind of meat that is. Seo says it's blue croco meat, and it's totally edible, which grosses her out. I mean, they've got plenty of food, why eat that nasty stuff? He just says she doesn't have to eat it. Zhong asks if it's safe to eat that thing, and why even do it when they've got so many supplies. Hyun decides to try it, because Seo said it's actually good. She takes a bite and realizes it tastes really good. Then Zhong comes up to him and asks how he managed to win the girl over like that, because she's never had a boyfriend. What's the trick to getting her to that level, like getting her to eat that nasty stuff? Our boy remembers his original life then. At the Imperial Academy, before he turned 20, he met Lady Maysil Grain. After 20, he met the daughter of House Leshley, Luenda Leshlian. And in his last sanctuary in a ruined world, he met Veronica. Zhong yells at him, demanding to know what his secret is. Sisho explains that honey doesn't chase the bee. The girl says that's the cringiest thing she's ever heard. Back in Sao Paulo, Kang is trying to figure out why Hyun went into the rift when the operation hasn't even started yet. And she even took Sisho, Zhong, and their guild. There must be valuable monsters in Santoraim, but according to the association, it's just insanely dangerous there. The hero complains that anything involving Sisho Dushan is unpredictable. Then Hong calls him asking if the brat is still alive. Kang says she's rushing him and asks if something happened. She tells him her dad saw the news about the kid being S-rank and is insisting they bring him back home. Kang says he finally found a good business partner and doesn't want to disappoint her now. He won't let Sisho Dushan leave Brazil alive. After he hangs up, he tells his assistant to call Takashi and let him know the brat is in an isolated spot so it'll be easy. Meanwhile, in the forest, Hyun is worried about the dangerous monsters. There's a beast out there called a lynx, which Sisho obviously already knows about. She says she won't stop him, but he needs to use this. It's earplugs, so the lynx can't paralyze your mind with its cry, but Sisho doesn't want them, and Hyun insists he shouldn't underestimate the monster, because even the Brazilian Association warned about it. Of course, our hero couldn't care less. In the dead of night, a wolf fox with a glowing eye watches them. It's the lynx, and everyone freaks out and covers their ears. Everyone except Sisho. The thing starts howling, and Hyun can't understand why the guy isn't protecting himself. He sets his fists on fire and jumps in to attack. The lynx tries to run, but Sisho chases it, and the guild follows. Then the monster stops howling, but calls its pack. One of them stares straight at Hyun, freezing her in place. Sisho covers her eyes, saying it's not the howl, it's the eyes. He tells her to keep her eyes shut, and goes on the offensive. Then comes his first form, Kirita Milagro Ruckle, the miracle born from a single point. His sword fires fireballs straight at the lynx. His guildmates are like, what the hell is that technique? And soon his whole sword is wrapped in dangerous flames. The monsters don't even have time to run from an attack that strong and that accurate. Everyone shields themselves from the shockwave. The destruction it leaves behind is massive. There's basically nothing left of the lynx, and a huge chunk of the trees got incinerated. The ones that survived are basically dead anyway, burned to a crisp. Actually, one is left to tell the tale, and it tries, pathetically, to use its paralysis power. To Seo, it's just embarrassing. He says he's keeping those eyes because they'll come in handy. Everyone's grinning, saying that was unbelievable and that it's not even human level. They even think he's stronger than Chabri Alphonse, or that he's on Kane Lester's level, the strongest hero in the world. As they walk, something starts crawling out of the forest's murky water. They're bloodthirsty zombie-like creatures. One of the guild members says they have zero awareness, because you know the dead don't have brains. The zombies rush in and get hit with a punch so hard it finishes them off for good. And remember, besides being strong, Saobei is insanely fast, so he wipes them out almost instantly, while the guild just stands there watching the show. After that, Hyun asks where he learned swordsmanship, because she wants to learn too. He knows in a peaceful world she won't really need it, so he just asks when she'd even use it. The purple-haired girl gets mad at being brushed off because hello, she's S-rank too, and says she'll use it at least once before she dies. They keep bickering like a dumb couple, and then finally head to the rift. Jung thinks it was thanks to Saobei that they cleared everything without any real trouble, and that next time when they go in to close the rift it'll be super quick. When they enter, Hyun recognizes a voice yelling in Japanese. It's Ryoma Takashi, ex-Yakuza, S-rank hero from the Teigoku Guild. The creepy guy says today he was finally gonna have some fun with Ju-yun, and this brat is getting in the way. He tells Sao to move aside fast or he'll get his face smashed in or worse. Sao comments that his teammates don't really like him, which makes Hyun realize the guy understands Japanese. Sao Dojun himself studied Japanese, so it's in his memories, but what matters right now is that Takashi is pissed. The Japanese guy's goons start complaining that the kid insulted their boss. Our hero couldn't care less. Tense. Jung thinks this is messy, even for Sao, because the guy is Japan's fifth best, so she tries to calm both sides down and stop things from turning into a disaster, but Takashi tells the bitch to shut up. That makes her guildmates furious, and things get even more complicated. Jung introduces herself, saying she's from the Korean guild Magnolia Violetta, and asks everyone to chill. The Japanese guy says he's never heard of them, and asks if she's looking for a man. If so, she can just wait. Jung tries to step in, but the guy grabs her arm, and Sao moves to protect her and gets punched in the face. Takashi says he'll kill him later and handle business, but for now the little boy should wait. That's when Seo realizes it's a planned provocation, and he's going to take the bait. So he throws a heavy punch at the bully, sending him flying back several meters. The protagonist tells everyone to back off, and says he threw the first punch. It's self-defense. The Japanese guy's crew gets ready, but the kid warns them it's one-on-one now. The small fry should get lost. Then Takashi takes off his shirt and shows off his god-tier physique. Jung silently prays that Seo only kills him halfway. Without wasting time, the kid stomps on the guy's head, smashing his face into the ground. Then he follows up with a combo, launching him away again. Takashi is stunned, wondering how this brat can be so strong. He realizes he's going to die and panics, so he takes off running, scared out of his mind. But the next second, Seo is already right in front of him. The protagonist says he figures someone told him to start this fight, and he can guess exactly who. Takashi begs for mercy, but our hero isn't really into that. The kid lands a monstrous punch on the right side of his face, and Takashi drops to the floor, probably lights out for good. Jung expected it, but she didn't think it'd be that humiliating. Then Seo puts his foot on the back of the Japanese guy's neck, and the cyan-haired girl asks Hyun to say something, or this is about to turn into a funeral. She yells at the kid to stop and not kill him, but Seo says he'll take responsibility for it. She grabs his arm and starts saying he shouldn't do something he'd have to take responsibility for in the first place. While Takashi's guild tries to help him, Seo insists it's better to wipe out trash like that. Jung tells the kid not to lower himself like that, and Hyun says the bully already learned his lesson, and she tells Takashi's goons to never mess with anyone again, and they kneel. But that's not enough for Seo. He wants all of them to put their heads on the ground. He even says Yakuza cut off their pinky when they screw up. That scares them badly, and they start begging for mercy. To humiliate them, Seo makes them repeat that they're trash and apologize. Back in Brazil in São Paulo, the president can't believe it. An S rank at that level ended up crippled because of one single man. He was hoping Korea and Japan would work together to close the Santarém rift. But if this is true, there's nothing for the Brazilian association to get involved in, so they'll leave it to the Koreans and Japanese. Daniel asks if anything near the rift seemed different, but Jung says no, and if Seo Dojun was mentioned so much in the report, why isn't he in the room with them? They say the hero had to go take care of a few things. There he is, at the hospital, holding a bouquet of flowers. Seo tells Takashi to stay still, and puts the lynx eye close to his one good eye. Then he asks what happened. The man whispers that thanks to trash like himself, he caused trouble for the Korean guilds, and that the Yakuza are idiots. Rumors about the fight between the Korean and Japanese heroes spread fast. Taiwan mentions how there's news about Seo Dojun every single day. His assistant asks if it's true the Japanese association gave up investigating, but apparently Takashi himself told them not to do anything. There must be something even Japan wants to avoid. Soon, thanks to the new S-rank hero, the balance of the hero world is going to shake. The operation to close the Brazilian rift is tomorrow. The Koreans interacted with heroes from all over the world and shared their plans, and a pre-battle party is about to start to boost morale. And without a doubt, the star is Seo Dojun. The rumor that he beat the hell out of Takashi went global. Everyone's talking about it, and the kid doesn't brag. Jung asks Hyun if compared to the young guy, they're just average, but the purple-haired one isn't listening. Shio is talking with Gloria Tyler, an American S-rank and the most beautiful heroine in the world. The scarred girl slaps her friend and asks why she's just sitting there. Hyun walks up totally embarrassed. Gloria steps away, says it was fun, and calls him Castle. The girl asks if the protagonist has an English name. Shio explains that's the name he used before he started going by Dujin. That makes Hyun wonder if he lived abroad as a kid, and it bugs her that he never mentioned it. Meanwhile, Kang watches the two of them and calls Takashi an idiot for not being able to land a guy like that, so the work's gonna fall on him instead. That's when Hyun tells Shio to be careful, because even if he's strong, enemies don't always fight fair. She adds that Takashi has close allies, but the guy doesn't want to hear it, because they're probably just like him, cowardly and weak, acting like they're tough. He says it's not a problem and looks straight at Kang. That makes the man furious, thinking he wants to kill him with his own hands. Later, at the rift entrance, Zhang notices it's different from the others, cloudy and dark, but her teammate isn't scared. After all, they've got two S-rank heroes with them. So everyone gets ready to go in, but Seo is feeling something weird, and Myun asks what it is. Not even Zhang feels anything different, but the boy says the mana concentration went up. Someone's in the shadows, waiting for it to hit 30%. The being calls them all insects, and says it wishes they'd all just die from that alone. The guild starts feeling pain and choking. Seo can tell the quality of this mana is totally different, denser than in the Pardishwa forest. Yoon realizes it's the first time she's ever seen him this tense. Something serious is going on. Jung tells everyone to calm down, because it's a trait of this rift, and since their bodies feel heavier, they need to stay alert. She tells Hyun and Seo to focus on protecting the formation. Yoon agrees, and the protagonist knows that's the safest move. They all decide to push forward, because the goal is to close the rift. While Seo was entering the Santarém rift, a team of French, Korean, and Brazilian hunters was closing another rift in Manus, and they were getting brutally attacked by killer bees. Park Hyo realizes it makes no sense, because bees are monsters even C ranks can hunt, and yet even A ranks are getting torn apart. The hero feels his body getting heavy. Normally he'd be able to mince them up easily. It's hard to know how many people are going to make it out of there alive. In Santarem, a bunch of orcs are attacking our heroes. The team is confused, because normally black orcs aren't this strong. Everyone's going all out, but it's not doing anything to them. Then Yoon saves her teammate from a potentially fatal hit, and she immediately counterattacks the huge muscular monster. With insane speed, she circles behind it and kicks it in the back of the neck. Then she loops around again and stomps down on its spine. The orc loses it and tries to chop her with an axe, but ends up hitting one of its own because she's so fast. Next, Hyun lands another heavy blow and the beast goes flying. Her teammates had almost forgotten how strong she is, since they've been watching Seo fight so much, but he's wrecking them too. Xiong is worried about them running into this level of trouble right at the entrance. Even with the two of them closing, it won't be easy. Seo points out to Hyun a black ripple on the orc that you can only see if you focus. That's why the monsters are getting stronger. It's dark mana. Minutes later, our heroes are already fighting a different kind of monster, swamp ghouls, and they're way too strong too. Everyone's struggling. One of them took a hit hard enough to rip their combat armor. Xiong shields her teammate from a killing blow, and she realizes that if the swamp ghouls are like this, the Velkara are going to be even worse. If every rift in the world is powered up like this, that's a massive problem. In the Manos Rift, Park Hyeol realizes the Brazilian and French S-rank heroes are dead. They were wiped out by just a few Velkara. In Santorin, Seo is saying the same thing. These monsters infused with dark mana are way too dangerous. Hyun only now realizes that's the ripple that's making them stronger. It's super concentrated mana that was injected straight into their bodies. But the girl doesn't even know what mana is. She thinks it's some video game thing. Seo sighs, and she asks if that stuff actually exists in real life. So the guy explains that the difference between a hero and a normal person is whether you have mana or not. A world without the whole idea of mana feels really weird to him, but that just means it's been pretty peaceful up to now. Unfortunately, that peace isn't going to last long, and Seo beats the swamp ghouls to a pulp with his fists. Yoon asks if out of all types of mana, dark mana is the one that powers up monsters, and he says it's basically like steroids. She asks how he knows all this, but he says the weird part is that she doesn't. After leaving the swamp ghouls' territory, the guild followed Seo's advice to avoid the Velkara and moved more slowly, but on the way they find something strange. Velkara feeding cocoons. That means they have to be nearby, and everyone needs to stay alert. Still, Seo says the real danger is right there, and flames appear in his hand. His teammates want to know if he's a mage, but he ignores them, fires straight at the cocoons, and says Velkara that absorbed dark mana use it to control the dead like puppets. If they don't destroy them, they'll get surrounded and wiped out instantly. Now all that's left is taking down the actual creature. Then Jong realizes that even though it's his first time in a situation like this, he already knows everything. It's crazy. It's not just strength, it's something beyond human. Kyun asks Seo to be honest and say if he's living a second life. Seo smiles, remembering the past, and thinks it's kind of like that, but he doesn't answer. Instead he asks how much longer until they reach the rift's core. Jang says that after the forest, they'll be halfway there. Seo says they'll close it today, which shocks everyone. He could do it, but the rest of the guild can't. Most of them have already burned through their stamina. So he tells everyone to rest, that he'll handle the Velkara and come back. Without waiting for an answer, he takes off at full speed. His teammates are stunned when they realize he still has that much strength left. After a few minutes of running, he finds the monster, a giant spider. No time wasted, he slashes at its left legs with his sword. The Velkara lets out a piercing screech and shoots webs at him. Focused, Seo cuts through all of them and uses the opening to land clean, precise strikes on the monstrous bug. And just like that, the rank Seo takes it down easily. He realizes that thanks to absorbing mana with his technique, he isn't even tired. When he gets back, Hyun says hunting a Velkara alone doesn't even feel real, and he doesn't look tired at all. Seo says he can't sense any monsters in the forest, so it's time to rest. A while later, he's cooking some meat, and a teammate asks for some. He jokes that maybe Seo's so strong because he eats stuff like that. That gets the hero curious, so he asks for a piece too. Meanwhile, Seo's thinking the meat is basically just to fill your stomach, but hey, if they want to get stronger, that's good. So he gives them a little gift, passing a bit of his mana into them. The two goofballs say they feel full of energy. Then Jung says that if they keep going straight, they'll reach the rift core, but since everyone's exhausted, it's better to go tomorrow. Seo thinks they should close it today, but their backpacks are already full. Hyun says she's tired because the monsters are powered up. They need as many blue croco hearts and other materials as possible, stuff you can only get in Brazil. But with dark mana showing up, everything changed because random variables are never a good sign. Something about it bothers Seo, but he just empties his backpack and tells them to take it to the hotel. Then he says he'll close the rift quickly and catch up with them. Seo keeps going alone, wiping out every kind of powered-up monster and picking up valuable magic stones. Meanwhile, the team is heading back, and Jong is worried about him. Kyun says the guy still has tons of energy left. She feels embarrassed even calling herself rank as next to Seo. there can't be anyone like him anywhere in the world. In the meantime, he's taking down a bunch of huge black orcs. There are a lot of them, but obviously that's not going to stop him. He forms a massive fireball and hurls it straight into the monsters in his way. None of them survive to tell the tale. By the time the team makes it outside the rift, it's already daytime. Seo hasn't stopped fighting this whole time. He's collecting a ton of hearts and magic stones along the way, since each one of them leaves a bunch behind. At the Brazilian Heroes Association, everyone's celebrating because the rift got closed, but then they mention the guild that was there, left 10 minutes ago, which leaves everyone confused. 10 minutes earlier, Seo was fighting a two-headed twin ogre. According to him, it's a creature that evolved really fast because of the dark mana, and there's the rift core, right behind the big ugly thing. Seo gets ready to end this once and for all. He makes his sword burst into flames, kicking off the second form of the Vandian swordsman style, saying Grammy Grimoire Fora. The magic unfolds into lines. It's a brutal attack, landing on the ogre's right shoulder. Seo grins and says he's just getting started, then swings again. The monster screams in pain and tries to smash the kid, but Seo dodges. His sword ignites again, and he lands a bunch of clean, precise hits on the two-headed ogre. In the process, the big guy loses a leg and a few other parts, including its life. Now the core is right in front of him. Even that close to the center, the dark mana concentration hasn't changed, which means it isn't coming from the core. Our protagonist realizes someone caused all of this. To flood a rift with that much dark mana, you'd need an undead lord or an imperial lich. But if they were actually there, most life on Earth would already be zombies, so it's hard to say for sure. Either way, if it's an outside force, closing the rift won't really end it. Still, Seo throws a heavy punch into the purple core, shattering it completely into a bunch of pieces. Back at HQ, President Daniel is reading the reports with a stunned look on his face. On one side, in a 3-country team, only one S rank survived, and the other team not only closed the rift, but every single member made it out alive. Reports from the other teams at the rifts came in, and most of them failed and are heading back. The president's confused, because every team had at least one S-rank hero, so the only team that succeeded was Hyun's, the Korean team. But the rift only closed after they'd already left. Hyun should arrive at HQ any minute, and Daniel needs to talk to her. It took an hour to reach the Brazilian HQ after they left the rift. In that time, Seo had already closed the first one and gone into the second, and he realized this one's core is underwater. Meanwhile, Hyun is telling the whole story to the president, and he can't believe it. She says the other S-ranks died in their zones. She explains that if it weren't for Seo, she'd be dead too. The guy doesn't want to believe the monsters got stronger because of this dark mana, and gained powers that can take down S-rank heroes. And even worse, this Seo Dojun is stronger than all of that. On top of that, they got reports that several rifts in the south were closed. Hyun thinks maybe the dark mana didn't show up there. Even so, they can't let their guard down. The danger level is higher than it's ever been. She told Daniel the entrance color changed, and that's the only way to tell for now. He makes a call, basically yelling for them to check the entrance of every rift in Brazil immediately. When he leaves the room, Hyun calls Taiwang and tells him everything. But in Korea, everything's normal. No dark mana. Even for S ranks, fighting a bunch of monsters at that power level is too much. And if a boss monster gets that kind of power, it'll be a disaster. Everyone needs to get ready. In rifts with rivers, lakes, or islands, the core is usually underwater, but obviously humans can't breathe underwater. So not many heroes can fight at full strength in those environments. The New Zealand hero Even Looper is an S rank, who specializes in underwater combat. He charges a lot to handle underwater rifts, because after he awakened as a hero, he gained the ability to breathe underwater. Down there the dark mana is even thicker, but Seo goes in anyway. It's dark down there, probably because of the mana. First the protagonist stabilizes himself in the water, then adjusts to the resistance. As soon as he reaches the bottom, a giant sea monster attacks him. It's an Arachon, wrapping around the boy like a snake. Seo focuses his power and blows the thing apart in the middle, splitting it into 2 disgusting chunks. And right away killer piranhas show up to eat the remains. If even Looper saw this right now, he'd be completely shocked. Our hero doesn't even bother getting stable. He keeps total control of his body. His feet are planted on the bottom, and he's throwing punches at the same speed as on land. But it's a lot of enemies all at once. That's when he notices something on the bottom. A creepy black fish, with his eyes shining. The kid wasn't expecting to run into an Aniclimax there. In his old world, everyone who became a legend had one thing in common. They hunted Aniclimax back when they were still nobodies. Seo can't let an insane chance like that slip by. The thing has no natural predators. Anything it faces ends up having a subspace created that swallows the prey whole. Our hero gulps some water and starts running out of air. Beating it to death would be easy, but then he wouldn't get its subspace. The right way is to suppress it with pure mana, and that space will become his. With that, the protagonist turns into light, and everything around him gets destroyed. But at that speed, he's going to get pushed back. So the hero focuses harder, pouring in even more mana. In the process, he absorbs the dark mana from the depths. His nose starts bleeding, and maybe this is too much for his current body. Time to go all in, all at once. Up on the surface, a wall of water blasts upward, along with fish and Arceo, who now has the Acrimos' subspace. When he wakes up, he's somewhere else, with birds pecking at him. He lets out a huge sneeze that scares the little guys off. He notices his mana went up compared to before, so yeah, it was worth it. But the biggest win of all was the subspace. He tosses his junk in there and stretches. There's nothing else to do in this rift, so he's gonna close it and head back to the cabin. Meanwhile, at the Korean Heroes Association, the deaths are confirmed. Taiwan is upset because they lost people they really couldn't afford to lose. He also mentions Seo Dojun managed to close a few points. He's even more impressive than expected. With the Takashi incident being such a hot topic, the fallout is going to be even bigger. And in Korean rifts, there aren't anomalies like the ones in Brazil, but you still can't let your guard down for even a second. Brazil's president, Daniel Lopez, is petty, and is gonna want to squeeze Seo for every last drop while he's on Brazilian soil. The assistant bets President Lopez will end up being the only one getting pressured by the kid. Taiwan laughs, remembering the brat isn't just some normal guy. In Brazil, Daniel complains it's way too expensive. Seo says then that there's nothing to talk about, but the president calls him back. He tells him to think about Brazil's safety, because that's his mission as an S-rank hero. But the young guy says he closed 2 rifts by himself. The Brazilian heroes still haven't closed theirs. Then Seo adds that Brazil's safety has nothing to do with him. If Korea's rifts were like this, the guy wouldn't be sending his heroes over. The assistant says the situation is critical. Every rift within a 500-kilometer radius, centered on Santarém, is inaccessible. If something like that happens again, it'll be the end of Brazil. Yoon says then it's simple. Just do what Seo asked. Compared to Brazil's safety, it's not that much. Daniel agrees and says that for each rift closed, he'll get $50 million. Seo says that for the 2 already closed, $100 million needs to be deposited. With that kind of money, he'll easily get the safest house the original Seo Dojun asked for. The promise was kept. Hopefully the kid's satisfied. So the association agreed, and Seo signed a contract that forces him to keep his mouth shut. There was a funeral for the heroes, and everyone was sad. After that, the guild is having lunch, when Jung asks if Seo is going to the next rift with them, but the kid still hasn't decided. Because while he's closing one, the team can head to the entrance of the other, and Jung says that way they close that rift together, so they can knock out like 3 a day. For the ones they close together, they'll get a cut of his reward. Seo also tells Hyun not to do too much, just stay safe. Everyone thinks the 2 of them are dating. Later, already inside the rift, a Cyclops tries to attack the hero. The kid smiles, knowing he's about to make more money. His punch lands right on the Cyclops' cheek, crumbling its face, but it doesn't take it down, which makes Seo realize this one's tough. So when the Cyclops charges him, the kid decides to try a new technique. He steps on the monster's arm and kicks it straight in the face. But the big muscular freak is still fine, and now it's pissed. So right when the Cyclops was about to punch the kid, Seo opened his subspace, and its fist went into nothing. Then its hand popped out in another subspace, punching the back of its own head hard. Seo realizes that isn't efficient in a fight, because the mana cost is way too high. Then the news comes in that the South Maru rift has been closed. Daniel can't believe it got shut in just 8 hours. And the money got deposited into Seo's account. At this rate, they're going to burn through billions in just a few days. The president realizes they can't let him take everything, but if they pay late, Seo might just quit. Daniel orders them to immediately call in all the nearby A-rank and B-rank heroes and form a team to compete with him. The reward will be $10 million, and they'll get full support. Now it's Seo Dojun versus the International Alliance of Heroes. Which side will close more rifts? Kang already got the message, and his assistant says the rumors that the S-ranks died are making everyone nervous. Then the guy says 10 million isn't much, but since it'll be easy, whatever. He realizes they're all going together as a team, which will suck if they end up stuck with Seo. But then they notice the brat's name isn't on the list. Neither is Hyun Ju-yang's. That's suspicious. While they're walking, the girl asks the protagonist if the association is actually paying properly. She says the payments must be a huge burden, so they gathered up all the other heroes. Hyun thinks the kid's being generous, and the association is the one being sneaky. They already set aside the funds they promised Seo, so money isn't the issue anymore. Something else is. Just like the Brazilian Association expected, the competition got results fast on both sides. At 3 p.m. Rift A035 was closed by Seo and the Silk Flower Guild. At 5:10 p.m. Rift C012 was closed by the Hero Alliance. 1 S-rank and 5 A-ranks lightly injured, and 2 A-ranks seriously injured. At 9:50 p.m. Rift A037 was closed by Seo alone. And with things moving like that, several days passed, and everyone at the association has dark circles under their eyes. The dark mana rifts are getting closed fast, but the normal ones are being ignored. Agents are monitoring things 24/7, but anything could happen at any moment. And then, all of a sudden, Seo Dojun and the heroes finally did something. Rift B041 was closed, and it was finally over. The assistant tells Daniel that every rift within a 500-kilometer radius of Santarém has been closed. All the dark mana ones were sealed, but there are still a few normal ones that could be handled in a day. There'll be a get-together party for the heroes and agents who worked their asses off. There, Zhang goes up to the president to say goodbye, because they're heading back to Korea. Daniel says there are still a bunch of rifts, they should finish the operation. They say their team was assigned to Santarem from the start, now they need to go home. The president insists that at least Sei should stay behind, and he asks to speak with the kid in private. Yoon says the kid already made a ton of money and got a lot of materials, so he should just leave, but maybe the girl just wants to stay close to Sei. The kid stops talking to Daniel, and goes to meet the white fox. Then Zhang insists Yoon go check if they're flirting. The purple-haired girl hears the woman telling Castle to think carefully, because it's a great opportunity for him. The heroine starts getting paranoid that she called him over to ask him to live with her. Gloria says she'll wait for his answer, and Sei says he'll think about it. Yoon notices the woman is gorgeous, but the kid's expression is the same as always. Maybe the guy's impotent. Sei comes back and asks Gloria to invite him to the gold market. Yoon knows it's a yearly auction for the elite held in Las Vegas, but she doesn't get why the kid would want to go. But the woman says the condition is that he has to go to her house a week before. That drives the girl crazy with jealousy. Gloria says he can think it over, and sends him the VIP invite. Then Kang walks up and talks about how both the hot Korean girl and the hot American girl are in Sei's hands. Yoon knows the guy's trying to stir shit. The man laughs loudly and draws everyone's attention, then says he's not planning anything. He just wants to introduce a friend, and it's Takashi, who for some reason is already out of the hospital. Daniel didn't invite the Japanese guy because of stuff like this. Sei says he looks better, and Takashi says that thanks to the brat, he had a valuable experience. Nervous, the president says the hero has recovered. He didn't think the guy would make it, so he didn't even invite him. And he says there's a comfortable couch right there for him to sit down, and for the two of them to talk properly. Kang loses it over this. His super careful plan didn't work out. The guy says Takashi really should rest, because the wounds Sei gave him must still hurt. He even asks if Takashi got an apology. Then Sei asks Takashi if the Yakuza are trash. The man can't believe the brat actually said that. Totally fearless, the kid repeats it and adds that they don't contribute anything to society. Takashi looks like he's about to attack him, and Kang tries to stop it, but the Japanese guy stares at him with this hungry look. He plays a voice recording. It's someone saying there's a certain person in Brazil who needs to be taken out. Seo Dojin. They just need to deal with the kid inside a rift. And also, since they're in Brazil, it'd be nice to pick up some hotties. The guy wants to use the chance to hit on Gloria or Hyun Joyeon, because she gives off never dated before vibes. Seo didn't think Lynx's eyes would be that effective. Kang Yongpyo picked the wrong opponent. From now on he's going to suffer really slowly until he wishes he was in a coffin. The man says that Yakuza guy ruined everything, and he lands a solid punch to his stomach, which probably finished the guy off. Kang takes off running, and Daniel tells them to go after him. Hyun yells that Seo should catch him, but the kid doesn't even move. He could have stopped all of this. It was definitely a shocking night. The incident spread across the whole world instantly, and hit Korea and Japan hard. Both hero associations stayed quiet, while the media dug up all kinds of stories about Kang and Takashi. And Hong is definitely not happy, of course. After trashing the whole house like any pissed-off rich girl, she asks what happened to Kang Yongpyo. The bald guy says Interpol and the World Hero Alliance are after him, but apparently they still haven't caught him. Hong's on edge and hopes the guy dies trying to resist. Then she asks about any loose ends, but those have already been taken care of. Something's bothering her, and it's on that phone, because it's personal, and only her family knows the number. But there's a recent text. It's from Kang, telling her to cooperate, or he'll leak the evidence. She screams that being connected to Yongpyo is a disaster, and she throws a vase at the bald guy for being too slow. As he leaves the room, he runs into So Kyung-chul Hong Hee-ju's father. She's shocked to see her dad there and doesn't even know what to say. Then she immediately gets slapped across the face. He asks if Hong thinks her father is some old man rotting away, and she gets slapped again to make it sink in. Kyung-chul asks if she really thought he wouldn't find out. She told Kyung to kill So Tujin. Their bloodline produced an S-rank hero. The old man really wants the boy to come back home. He couldn't stand watching his rival group grow thanks to Jung Seung-ko, but now he's got a chance too. But first, the two of them need to decide how she's going to clean up the mess she made. While everything around Kang Hyung-kyo was turning into chaos, So's group went back to Korea. The kid made a ton of money and has the materials for the sword, but Hyun's curious about one thing. Did the kid let Kang get away on purpose? Smiling, the main guy says yes, and that it'll lead to the next step. In Seoul, his little sister is stuffing herself with burgers, because when he got back home and saw his family, he was shocked. His grandma's health was really bad. Hyun didn't take her to the hospital or tell her brother because, well, she's just a little kid. The money So got came from risking his life, so grandma wouldn't let Hyun use it carelessly. So explains that going to the hospital because you're sick isn't wasting money. He whispers in the old lady's ear that he went to Brazil and made a lot of money, so he's going to take care of her. With his grandma in the hospital, the two of them visited her every day and ate burgers afterward. And that same day, So went to see the craftsman, who praised him because the blue Croco's heart is in perfect condition. So the sword will turn out even better. It'll take 3 weeks, and the man's starting right away. The hero wants to ask for one more thing besides the sword. He pulls Velcura silk out of his backpack, along with a bag of poison. The old man has to make armor out of it, but sized for his little sister. The defense on Velcura silk armor is insane, and tons of heroes would love to have it. So the craftsman asks if his sister is a hero, but So wants it to look like normal clothes. It's not for fighting. But the old guy says kids grow up really fast, so she'll only be able to wear it for like 2 years max. Then So pulls a little bottle of green liquid out of his backpack. It's Telepoo extract. If you mix it in with the cloth materials, it turns stretchy. Telepoo is a super common plant-type monster. The old man didn't even know that, and asks where the kid learned all this stuff. So says it's his second life. After that, some mysterious person is walking through the city. He goes into an underground cafe, and says the owner must have good taste. He came to meet someone, and wanted things kept quiet. The guy with glasses is Park Sung-wook, 52, an ex-executive secretary who now works freelance. He's there to meet So Dojun, and right away he says the kid is all over the news. So got his contact through Hyun Jue, who said Park helps heroes when they want to get things done discreetly. Park says he can do anything as long as it's not illegal, and orders an espresso. So says he wants to build a house, and Park's like, so it's not gonna be anything normal then. So explains he needs it to be the safest house in the world, in Seoul, with a budget of 500 billion won. Park spits his coffee all over the kid, and So asks if this is his first time dealing with a budget like that. Park says with money like that, it's not a house, it's a castle, which actually gets So interested. So offers an even bigger budget, 1 trillion won. Park asks if So even knows what the safest house in Korea is right now. So guesses it's President Oh Young-gyun's place in Gangnam, and he's right, it cost 110 billion won, and the land alone is probably worth around 80 billion. So can definitely do something insane, but in Gangnam it's not realistic, because you can't really buy land there, since a rift has never happened there. So yeah, you can build the best house, just not in the safest area. But So says the safest place isn't Gangnam, only the people who live there say that. It's basically an illusion the media created. The fact that nothing happens there is just luck. Even in the ruined world, where the rules were different, rifts happened everywhere. Seo wants a plot of land in Guro district, but Park says there was a rift there a few years ago, and there was one in Mapo recently too. But Seo only wants Guro because it's close. Then we see this creepy red rift. A dragon comes out, looking confused, and right after that, Seo Dojun just shreds it. His new sword is way better than he expected. The craftsman says confidently, it's the best thing he's ever made, and he won't charge anything, because Seo brought all the materials. But Seo already sent the money anyway, 1 billion total, because he doesn't like owing people. Truth is, the sword is worth more than 100 billion. Hunting is gonna be ridiculously easy now. After meeting Park Sung-wook and deciding on the house, Seo spends weeks focused on hunting rifts. While he's walking with his sister, she says it's good grandma's getting out of the hospital in a few days, and she complains her brother's been super busy lately. But then some guy says, well then you don't need to visit the old lady every day. The man was sent by Seo Gyeong Chael, and he needs the kid to get in the car. Seo tells Yoon Young to close her eyes, and that guy's car is about to end up straight at the junkyard. Seo tells him to get lost and never come back. Seo explains to his sister the guy was trying to separate them, and the little girl asks if she can do the same thing if someone tries to split them up. But there's nothing to worry about because her little brother will handle it and kill everyone. Jung and Hyun are having dinner together, talking about the house their friend is going to buy. Hyun tells the purple-haired girl she'll have to move closer to him, and Hyun starts getting paranoid that Gloria's gonna steal her man. Then Jung says she wants to move closer to Seo too. Hyun thinks she's joking, but she's not. Just not for the reason Hyun thinks. It's for the guild's benefit and to make it stronger. Seo's on a whole different level compared to Sesh ranks. It'd be smart to have a guild office near everyone's house. And so the two of them decided to become the protagonist's neighbors. Back at HQ, Tai Wong says the kid closed 9 gates in 2 weeks. Since the payout isn't cheap, the old man called him in to figure out what the hell was going on. His guess is the kid thinks Korea's about to get dangerous like Brazil. Because of that, Seo got paid more than 45 billion. But the guy just says it's because it's right in front of him, and he needs money to build a house. And he's also got a question about the construction, because after that day, a bunch of deals started happening around his lot. First Hyun and Jung, then Tai Wong and the guild members. And pretty soon even some heroes and speculators jumped in. Meanwhile, Kai Wong-sil says blood doesn't lie. The old man found out about his purchase, and had them buy up all the surrounding land. The rumors kept growing and growing, pulling in more buyers, and the prices shot up. But Sehud already locked in his share. The weird part is the house is way too small for such a massive lot. Apparently the extra space is to make the place secure. A rounded structure with an outer wall, that way it can be built fast, and Tai Wong will handle the paperwork side. Next thing, our hero's already inside a gate, and Tai Wong brings up Seho's request to tame monsters, which totally caught him off guard, because nobody's done that before, but the old man gave him permission to raise monsters on his land. The craziest part is the brat wants to raise some Caesarians, and he's already in the process of capturing one. An hour later the monster's almost wrecked and exhausted. Sehu pets it and says he'll come back later. Early in the morning, Seiho calls Hyun to ask a favor. He wants to know if the stone guy deals with magic stone dust. But the girl says the energy gets lost when it turns into powder. In front of a gate, the protagonist says he needs it, but the purple-haired girl keeps asking a ton of questions. Meanwhile, they're building the wall around the house. The guards who will protect the inside will be brought in when construction is almost done. And there's also a device to dampen outside shocks, like earthquakes. To do that, our hero's gonna need magic stone dust, so he's fighting a huge cyclops. Using his subspace and his insane sword, he activates the third sword form of the Bandian family, Spirak Freto, Katasta, which makes his blade glow red. It's a spiral of destruction hidden inside that glow. The Cyclops has never seen anything like it with its one eye. A bunch of massive holes get blasted into the monster, and he gets a purple magic stone. Then he breaks it into little pieces and stores it in a jar. But thinking about it, gates are outside shocks too. Maybe he can dampen those as well. That'd be amazing. While Seo-dojun was busy clearing gates and visiting his grandma, some serious news dropped, that the kid is Chairman Kyung-chel's grandson. That was the old man's plan. Now everyone's gonna see Seo as his grandson. People say they knew something was off. Some kid that young becoming S-rank. It was probably money, since he's a nepo baby. The protagonist starts the press conference by saying he was born an illegitimate child and got abandoned when he was little. And he keeps going, telling his story, Seo-dojun's real life. Even the doubters started seeing posts from his school friends, and old bosses from his jobs got interviewed. So people started feeling for the kid. Because of that, the grandpa's group stock dropped 30% in an instant. We see the original asking for his grandma and sister to be kept safe. Soon that promise is going to become real. The biggest, best security in the world. Everything's basically settled, but Kang is still around. For now, he's about to walk right into a trap. The last thing to deal with is the gates that can pop up out of nowhere. That's why they're doing the outside first to protect against that. The kid's paying double so he can move in sooner, so everything will be done in 10 days. And Seo made it clear, nobody's allowed to come in tonight. He tosses all the magic stones he's collected into his subspace, doing this intense ritual, and scattering the stones around his lot, and making this huge glowing symbol on the ground. They're all the best quality stones he could get, and their dust will stop any unexpected variables from happening. Now that the base is ready, the protagonist is going to go get the guards. Meanwhile, in a parking lot, Hong argues with Kang, because if he had time to threaten her, he should have used it to kill Seo instead. The woman created fake identities. He managed to get the guy a place to stay and everything. Now she wants the brat's head. The hero explains he's done worrying about the people who made him like this, and is focusing only on the kid. Hong asks if he's scared of the young guy, and Kang tells her to shut up and stay hidden, because fights between sec ranks are no joke. To do it properly, he'll have to take the little girl and the old lady hostage, but the kid won't leave his family. The man is ready to wipe out his whole family if he has to, and she still asks if he's scared. Grabbing her by the neck, Kang yells that he always kills the people he says he's going to kill. Seo-dojun can't protect his family forever. The moment he slips up, they'll be his prey. If Hong gets that, she'll shut up and stay out of the way, because the man said he'll pull it off no matter what. In a creepy castle there are only death knights. There's no real difference between the boss and the monsters. There are 3 of them at the door, and they're not easy to hunt. Since they don't have physical bodies and don't feel pain, if you don't cut the core of their soul, they won't go down. The Death Knights keep the skills they learned when they were human, and each one hits hard in their own style. Fighting them bare-handed would be disrespectful. This is the first truly intense battle for our protagonist. But the sword god obviously loves a sword fight. He's been holding a sword since he learned to walk. Seo-dojun is going to use the secret techniques of the Bandian family, and without using any other martial arts, he's going to clear the place using only his insane swordsmanship. That little challenge he set for himself is pretty fun. Now there's only one Death Knight left. Out of the regular ones, the kid knew there'd be one stronger. Still, it disappoints him. It's just an elite, attacking with everything it's got. The difference in how sharp its blade is obvious. Our protagonist is really enjoying this fight. The attacks are good, clean, precise, and bloodthirsty. And that one is going to become Seo-dojun's guard. He got 5 elite guards in 2 days. And that's enough for now. He only needs a watchdog. Kassarian is furious at this human, and tells him to get out of his nest. But Seo isn't here to mess around today. Pissed off, the monster calls him an arrogant brat. But then it realizes this human is on a whole nother level. He's insanely strong. Next thing you know, the kid is riding Kassarian, flying out through the gate. The beast is confused because its place is in there, but it doesn't have a choice. Out in the streets, people are terrified, seeing Kassarian flying overhead. Seo tells the thing to be careful and not crash into buildings. It looks like it's about to rebel, because this is humiliating. So it lets out a roar that almost blows out the civilians' eardrums. The protagonist tells the monster to stop scaring the neighbors and fly quietly, and they fly over the Mariana Islands in the Pacific Ocean, until they reach the can manifest rifts. If one opens on some remote island and the waves keep happening, the place will turn into a demon den, exactly like this one. Then Seo tells Kassarian to kill everyone there, however it wants. A massive brawl between giants and monsters breaks out, and all the magic stones go to the little smartass. He's gonna take it out for walks all the time. A while later, So Do-jan's house is finished, 1 basement level and 3 above ground, with the best tech systems. Grandma says it's not a house, it's a palace, and asks what that thing is sleeping in the yard. So Xiao says it's like having a chicken at a farmhouse. The kid tells the little one she can mess with whatever she wants in the new house. Then Huan says there's some creepy energy in the basement and asks if he's raising something besides Caesarian. But the young guy makes it clear it's nothing dangerous, and he thanks her for looking after the 2 of them while he was away, and invites her to dinner on the weekend. Just the 2 of them, alone. But that weekend they'd already planned to go to the amusement park with Yuan Young. The kid was so focused on hunting that he forgot, so Huan asks to come along. And while they walk around the park, people whisper about 2 S ranks together. They have a blast on all the rides. At the end of the day, So thanks Huan for always taking care of his family, and asks her to keep doing it. It's like the kid basically invited her to live with them. In the car on the way home, So feels a killing intent, and knows exactly who it is. Huan is going to watch the little one, while he handles this. The hero jumps from building to building until he reaches his house. Unfortunately, Kang is already inside, fighting Caesarian and the Death Knights. So figured the guy would wait until both of them were out to go after Grandma. His enemy is in trouble, and only now notices the young guy is there. On top of getting punched in the face, he gets mocked by the protagonist for not dodging. Then he takes a kick to the stomach. Finally Kang realizes So's level is insane, even though they're both S rank. That hits his ego, but a straight-up fight is impossible, so he decides to go after the protagonist's family instead. The guy drinks a weird red potion, then his arm grows to several times its normal size. So knows it's the Oceanus elixir, which gives you a Titan's left arm, but you can only use it once. The kid asks if the guy emptied his pockets on the black market. Kang yells that instead of talking trash, he should protect the old lady. He's hoping that when the house collapses from the earthquake, the brat will run to save her. But So just says Kang actually used a tiny bit of his brain for once, and it still didn't help. He mentions magic stone dust that absorbs impact, so Grandma's totally fine. From now on, his body is going to pay the price for trying to mess with the protagonist's family. And then he takes a ridiculous blow to the back of the neck. After that, a kick to the side. Hurain and the security guards show up and stop the little girl from looking. Kang Youngpyo barely survives and gets handed over to the Hero Association. Soon, the original So Dojun appears in his dreams and thanks him for making his wish come true. The sword god did way more than he asked. So what can he do to repay it all? But there's nothing to repay. The next day, Hyun asks if the kid slept well, and he smiles, thinking he found happiness there.